Give me 1 second. Let me just mute stuff here on YouTube. So, how have you been? How have your weeks been? Hello? Am I muted or something?
No, we can hear you.
Oh, you can. Thanks. I was beginning to
Shalom.
wonder if.
Shalom, everybody.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. I see Nardia is in the house. Ariana, Sean, Stanley, Aisha, Chris, Sabrina. I'm not seeing anyone else yet. That's about it. That's about it. Yeah. So far. Well, I'm happy to be here once again with you all. And it's not yet Shabbat, but it's coming to that time of year when we will again start during the Sabbath. It's the sun is gonna be setting earlier now because its summer months are ending, and means that I will be forced to rest a little more during the week. Because when the sun sets at 8, I find myself up till 10 working, 9 working, because I'm starting to wind down when it starts to get dark. And then by that, before you know it, it's 10 o'clock. So, we are here. Stanley,
Yes, brethren.
yes, man. So, I guess we're prepared for you to start.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my let's
I
see.
get your stuff ready. Let's talk to um this week has been an interesting week via media. I I make some observations and I don't say them publicly as readily as I would other stuff. Oh, Chev is on. Chev is traveling and I didn't think you'd be on. Happy belated again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So,
Yes, brethren. Happy belated.
Happy belated.
so his Wi-Fi is kind of sketchy, so he'll be in and out, in and out. So I make some observation on social media, and as I observed, is it's one thing that contents are being blocked based on what you say in a community setting. It's another thing when a private message is sent to you and then there's this message, we cannot play this at this time, or it's no longer available. But the person who sent it to you said, no, I didn't take it down. It's still there. What I found happening, and I'm just saying this just for sake of just current events. What I've found also is that when I share stuff that is pertinent to what people should know, what I find is that it says share, but when I go and check, it's not shared. So it's not just that you're being blocked and saying that this is your community guideline. There's a whole lot of other stuff that are being done to basically censor your speech, even if I'm saying it to you personally. It is still being monitored, still being censored. And we have to be wise how we do stuff if we want to actually um, keep our friends and loved ones in the know of what we know and expect to get that information shared to us. There was a video I got today with a guy in a small island. He's he's a scientist, and my friend was trying to send it to me forever. It kept saying not available. And when I got the link, direct link, and tried to put it in, it wouldn't do work. But it was on his phone, so I said maybe the person who sent it to you only gave you permission. And it was one of those videos with documents coming out of these organizations, including Pfizer. that prove the opposite of the what you're hearing every day. And what I had to do to get the video, I had to put the phone down and record the screen with my camera, just so that I could hear the information, and even if I need to follow or to check to see whether it's correct, I had to do that, resort to that kind of measure, simply because in the dark ages, anything you learned was taught to you by the Catholic Church, or coming out of the dark ages. You didn't learn anything unless they said it to you. That is why it was called the Dark Ages, because what was happening was a freeze on information. No one could teach the Bible. In fact, if you taught the Bible, you would be killed. The only person that could teach the Bible was the clergy. And of course, they would teach the Bible based on the narrative that they're trying to push. So it was hard for persons to hear anything else but. And that is part and parcel of why we are here today with so much misinformation. And what we're seeing happening again is that nothing outside of the quote unquote authorized information is being allowed to even be discussed among friends in a private situation, as long as it's being done over a network. Nothing you say. My phone answers me many times when I didn't even say hello, whatever, or hi, whatever. Because I'm not saying it because I don't want it to come up in the video again, but it lets us know. Chev and I were having a discussion, and well, the entire family, and thereafter Chev started getting promotions and adverts based on the discussion we were having in our private confines of our home. And that's how we are being monitored. And the thing about monitoring, though, it would be a waste of time to worry about it because it's happening. Just be aware of it. But the streets, marching in the streets, may slow government process or progress in terms of what this is happening with this. However, fight as much as you may, it makes no sense, going back to the mark of the beast, to be afraid of the mark of the beast if you don't fear Yah. Because the power of the mark of the beast to destroy you is only in Yah's hands. He didn't say when you get the mark of the beast you would be destroyed immediately. He said that if you're found with the mark of the beast, and we already talked about it, it's your character really. It's being under the authority of this system and not necessarily being stamped. But if you are afraid of, if you think it's physical and you're afraid of the mark of the beast per se, but you don't fear Yah, then the end result of both of those is the same thing. It is still condemnation by Yah. So that is why I say if you fear the mark of the beast and don't fear Yah, then you're in the very same position. But if you fear Yah, you shouldn't fear the mark of the beast. And I know I'm using fear loosely here, but just to say that let's not get panicked about that, but let's push harder to truth. The more this thing takes place, which was prophesied long ago that would happen, the more it takes place, we should push harder to truth. So the truth that we're learning now as we study each week together, it goes a long way. It may seem simple to you. It may seem trivial, but it really goes a long way in how we perceive righteousness, because when this false system comes to us to have us behave a particular way, and to trick us into thinking that this is true worship, we would be able to differentiate. Because believe it or not, it will look very close to the real thing. It has already been looking close to the real thing. We've already seen where religion remove the kingship from the Son of Yah while still calling him king. It's like coming into a country to dethrone the king and mockingly put him on a chair to say, this is the king, when you have removed all his power. What am I saying? When you remove Torah, when you remove the people of Yah by embracing the replacement theology, you have removed the king, the kingship from the king. And the analogy I like to use is, if I die to give my son my heart so that he could go on living, and you put up a big statue, effigy of me, and you do all the media, whatever you're doing, but my son never gets the heart, you wouldn't have honored me. I wouldn't have been the person I hoped to have been in sacrificing my life for my son, because that wouldn't have been effective in how you are now exercising that heart or utilizing that heart. Same it is with Hamashiach. The power of God is a gospel, or the good news unto salvation, meaning the good news that the Savior that was promised to restore Israel had in fact come. And by the restoration of Israel, the word would move out to the wider world, which started at Shavuot, Pentecost. And we saw where the tongues and how that was interpreted. So that if now you're saying that the people of Yah is removed or cast away, then what you've done is annul the effort of Hamashiach, of dying, because the restoration that he would have accomplished through his death would have been nullified by you removing his people by virtue of doctrines. Also by removing his law, because the law could not be done away with, he had to die. By removing the law, you would have nullified his death. Lastly, by promoting a trinity, you would have removed Shema Israel, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Ehad. You would have removed that Yah is one, and that he sent his son, is begotten, that came forth from him. In other words, that was predestined to reclaim Adam's fallen race. You would have, by removing those three things, we would have removed. And what we are seeing now is that the image of the beast is active. And what is happening is that the three unclean spirits has gone forth to deceive the world. And the world is deceived. Many who think they are on the road to salvation are actually not. If you find yourself embracing any of these three things, the replacement theology to say that Israel was cast off and the church is now the new spiritual Israel, that's a deception. If you find yourself believing that Torah, the instructions or law, is done away with, that Yahuwah is no longer instructing his people or no longer needs to instruct his people. If you find yourself believing that, because in fact when you say the law is done away with, you're saying the instruction is done away with. You no longer need the instruction, and Yahuwah no longer needs to instruct his people. If you find yourself believing that, again, you're being deceived. If you find yourself believing the Trinity, that there's three gods in one, coessential, meaning they come from the same essence, it's again a deception. All these were designed to remove Yah while you still have an image of Yah. The Bible calls it a form of godliness. The Bible said, turn away from such. So as we study, we want to resist all forms of godliness and strive to walk in Torah, to live in Torah, to embrace the oneness of Yah and the kingship of Hamashiach, to embrace the called and elect of Yah, Israel, us, who have been dispersed in the transatlantic slave trade, to embrace the idea that Yah has not cast away his people. So if you find yourself believing anything else, or find yourself believing that one, Torah is done away with, two, the people of Yah has been cast away, or three, Yah is a trinity, then we are being deceived. And these are the three pillars on which modern religion are based, are underpinned, or undergirded. Modern religion is based on this. And as we look to go into prophecy in the coming weeks, in fact, we've been looking into prophecy, but in a more specific way in certain prophecies. There's no true interpretation of any prophecy unless it is being interpreted in the context of the salvation of the true Hebrews of Yah and those who join themselves unto him as they walk in Torah. And I'm specific in saying as they walk in Torah. Stanley, you can tell me when you're ready. I'm specific in saying that because not all Hebrews, as Shaul says, not all Israel is Israel. Not all bloodline Hebrews are actually embracing the kingship of Hamashiach, the relevance of the instruction and the currency of the instructions, which we call law, Torah, Hebrew Torah, or the oneness of Yah. When the lawyer asked Christ, which is the greatest commandment, in Mark, I think it was Mark, I don't remember where in Mark, he said, Shema Israel, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Ehad. He said, hear yo Israel, the Lord thy God, the Lord is one. That's what he repeated. Then he repeated the commandment. So if the oneness of Yahuwah is not a part of your makeup of your belief system, the permanency of his instructions, which are righteous and can never be outdated, and the kingship of Hamashiach, these three must form the foundation of our belief system. That was my little talk as Stanley prepares. Are you ready, Stanley?
Yes, I am.
So you choose the opening for you again.
Yes, I appreciate that. And I when you were talking, I'm listening and everything, and then in your conclusion, I'm a big fan of Kev on Stage, and he has like this one of his videos on YouTube. He was talking about how the guest speaker gets introduced by the main pastor. It is just like, while you speaking, I'm like, he was talking about making the joke how the guest speaker be like, yes, like just being in the corner ready, rocking, reading credentials and everything. And just while you were speaking, I was just chuckling in my mind. Me technically being the guest speaker and like in church, and the person warms up the pulpit, and it's like they start reading off credentials and everything like that. So I was ready for somebody to come read my credentials so I could be introduced to the pulpit and everything.
You should have sent them to me and I would do
right. But all in all, it's just a great opportunity. A little nervous, but a great opportunity to come
Why?
deliver
Why
this session.
nervous though?
It's always,
I mean, you
because
do
it's
this
just
every week.
right, but it's different when I'm the primary instead of the,
When you know that you are.
yeah. It's the know, it's the,
Okay.
it's the knowing part, but it's a great opportunity, to deliver this, because I know this is this flat Earth theory talk has popped back up, and it's a huge thing nowadays, um, especially with this new quote unquote awakening of truth and things like that. So, um, yeah. So before we begin, let's give prayer. Abaya, your gracious host, the Yod He Wahe, the one whose breath gives life, the one whose words create, manifest. Thank you for being the God that you are. Thank you for allowing us to be able to study your teachings, study your instructions. Thank you for allowing us to exist, because for our transgressions, Father, by decree, we should not be here. But because of your grace, because of your mercy, you allow us to continue on. So, Father, as I would just like to say thank you. Just thank you for being the Most High God that you are. So, Father, as we prepare to dive into today's lesson, I ask that you just be with me as I deliver this, to your people, those who will see this, those who may read the screen. Just, Father, just allow this to be something, whatever it may be, allow it to be something for whoever sees and hears this. And Father, I ask that throughout the presentation that you enhance what I have written, or whether today, tomorrow, or anytime, give correction to what I have discovered. Because Father, I want to be truth. I want to be in your truth. I want to remain in your truth. I don't want to be in a situation of misleading or manipulating anything. I want it to be all in praise and glory to you. So Father, be with me, be with those who listen. And Father, just again, thank you for being who you are, in the name of your Son, Yahusha Mashiach. Amen.
Amen.
So I need to, because I have a slide deck and everything, a PowerPoint. Do I have control? Or
Yeah, you do.
okay, cool. So I will share my screen. Let's do. Let's do this just in case. Everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Cool. So today's session, what I'm going to be speaking on is the scripture support flat Earth theory. And like I said, this has been something that I've had people ask me about my opinion, what I believe, or I've seen different videos now popping up more than ever than before about is the globe or the sphere that we now go by, is that a new thing or is it an old thing? So it's something I actually kind of came up with as far as like a small little Word doc that I came up with a couple weeks ago, and I'm just adding, week by week adding little things here and there. So when last week popped up, that question came about. It was found it amazing how it was like, oh man, I've been building on this. So again, the Most High works, and the way He goes about creating opportunities is amazing. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So we have here the scripture support flat Earth theory. Now, of course, we want to make sure that we always lead with understanding Hebrew thought. Matter of fact, let's see, hold on, where is the, I no longer see y'all. Okay. Hebrew thought is circular in nature. I got an echo. It's circular, and what I like to think of is spiral, not just circular, because when people see a circle, they think it's a continuous, something that you're going to stay in a loop or something. So I like to think of spiral where you loop, but you come out into a different phase, or you go into another sphere, another ring, because you're growing and such. So I like to think of it not just circular, but spiral. Things occurs in seasons. It's concrete. Things exist in a material or physical form, must arouse the five senses, describes things according to its function using verbs and nouns. Greek thought, Western thought is linear, things happening in a sequential order. Abstract, things exist symbolically, feeling, or in spirit, does not rely on the five senses, describes things according to its appearance using adjectives. So we can see between the two thoughts that Hebrew thought, Greek thoughts like oil and water. They simply just don't mix. Hebrew versus Greek Western thought. So I like to came up with an example where in describing a red car, a Hebrew would say, I can use it to drive to my destination. A Greek would say it's candy apple red with 20-inch rims, start giving things about the car, where Hebrew would say, I can use it to get to my destination, clear, cut, and dry. Love Hebrew. For a Hebrew, it is my responsibility to make sure you're taken care of. In the Greek or Western thought, it's all about feeling. Butterflies in the stomach, a sensation that's built upon what someone does for you, not what you do for somebody else. Faith, Hebrew, the Hebrew understanding of faith is I will do what I can to support the Most High. In the Greek Western, it's simply I believe in the Most High. So when we look at faith, it becomes, in the Hebrew, it's active, where in the Greek, it's passive. Where in Hebrew, it's all about action. What am I doing? What are my behaviors? What am I saying? How am I treating people? Where in Greek is simply, well, as long as I believe in the Most High, that means I have faith, or it's built on hope. Like I hope the Most High is going to do this, instead of saying I know the Most High is going to do this because I'm in agreement with what the Most High teaches. So we see how these simple things describing an object, love, faith are totally different between a Hebrew or Hebrew thought and what a Greek or Western thought is. Now, in these two pictures, we see the globe versus the flat earth. You see at the top, this is a lot of propaganda now that is being viewed of the global or sphere theory versus the flat earth. So it's that we're now it went from flat earth, quote unquote, understanding to globe to now we're trying to say now it's back to flat earth, because what we have to understand is that the people who who transliterated scripture are not the same people of the same culture or the people who were living it. So when we look at these two pictures, like I said, it's the new propaganda is that the globe is more leaning to the foundations of evil, where the flat earth is now going back and supposedly validates the Most High. Now, when we look at flat earth theory in America, we see how in America, they viewed it as a square platform with a sphere circle coin in the middle, with the angels standing at the corners holding the winds back. And later we'll see how the words transliterated from the Hebrew to the Greek can totally change and manipulate how we interpret scripture, specifically the corners part. So this picture is showing us what the Greeks are saying that the Hebrews understood the earth as. So again, we have to make sure we keep in mind that the people who transliterated scripture were not of the same culture, understanding as the people it was written about. So when we look at how they approached this theory of what they came to the conclusion that the Hebrews looked at the world, we must have to understand that they were looking at as see the Hebrews agree with us, not necessarily saying that we agree with the Hebrews. We get that? So again, they're looking at it from the Hebrews validate our theory, more so our theories validating them. Now, if we look at the two different pictures, we can see a lot of the influence of Greek culture right off the bat. So we see on the left side, we see heavens, ocean of heaven, firmament. Then we start seeing this stuff like underworld. Okay, in scripture, what we know as the place of where the souls of the dead go was never correlated to an underworld. It was always thought of as a place or abode that was separate from the face of the Most High, that the soul rested. There's not very much description of this place because it was always accepted from the Hebrew perspective. It's not meant to be understood because we were never supposed to be there anyway. Death was never part of the plan. So for them, it is simply thinking, because I don't have, it's considered the unknown, and the Most High is declaring it as unknown, it's okay for me to keep it unknown. Where in the Greek mind, they're saying, nope, I want to know more. I must know, I must know, I must know. So again, these pictures are very telling of the mind state of the people who were interpreting what the Hebrews would have been thinking, simply because how they view the underworld or what they know as Hades.
Your video was starting over.
Not going that then can't show.
Okay. All right.
Got you.
Okay, we're good?
Yeah.
So we have a clear look of, like I said, where it says underworld. For them, this would have been Hades, right? And then under the mountains of Tartarus. And I think we talked about it a couple times or a few sessions back, how especially in the New Testament, we see words used that would have given an indication that the audience they were talking to were meant for Greek people, not for other Hebrews. So we see some of the words where it says hell, they would have actually used the Greek words like Tartaru and actually Hades. So they actually they don't hide the fact that they're showing you the culture or the mind state of where they're coming from, which was completely different from the Hebrew mind state. So they don't hide it. It's just us that keeps trying to interpret it as well. Maybe they meant this. Like, no, they're making it clear that the mind state they were approaching this and understanding the Hebrews was not of the mind state of the Hebrew. So if somebody could, if anybody does not mind reading or pulling up Genesis 1 through 10, let me actually pull it up myself and see if you can read along with it. Just a moment.
You said Genesis 1 through 10?
Yes, please.
Okay. I can read it.
All right, cool.
Can y'all hear me? Pretty good?
Yep.
Okay. Genesis 1 through 10, I'm reading through the Sefer version. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Ruach Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. And Elohim said, let there be light, and there was light. And Elohim saw the light that it was good, and Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And Elohim said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And Elohim made the expanse and divided the waters which were under the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse. And it was so. And Elohim called the expanse heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And Elohim said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And Elohim called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And Elohim saw that it was good.
Thank you so much. So in your translation, it uses the proper connotation, but look how the KJV translated. Now, remember, the KJV was the accepted copy or the translation of the Hebrew Bible or the Tanakh. And in that original version of the KJV, they based it off the Septuagint. The Septuagint was based off Koine Greek, which is ancient Greek. So the way that the KJV uses the translation, we see words like firmament instead of expanse. And let's see, we see firmament, darkness, voids, but it's just by this word firmament, which we'll get in the PowerPoint, that really starts giving us the understanding of what was happening and what the Most High was doing.
Stanley,
Yeah,
what are you using to send the graphic to us?
the graphic.
What are you present? What screen are you presenting?
I'm on Chrome. Oh, I see it's blurry.
It's pixelated. I'm not sure the resolution that you're sending.
Yeah.
It's all of them. So I'm not sure if it's the device.
Yeah, I'm on my computer. I don't know why it's so blurry.
All right, you know what? Continue. I don't
Let
want
me
to.
let me
The
shut.
information is good. I don't want to be distracted though.
Oh man, that's I see it. Ugh. Yeah, I don't even know how to. Let me stop sharing real quick and see if I
There's
can.
a function to broadcast in HD when you're on
Yeah,
Zoom,
maybe let's see.
because this is in standard because it's in the 4:3 format.
Let's see. All right, let me stop my video and then let me pull it back up. Maybe that. And let's see. Yeah,
Your camera is fine. It's just the graphic.
yeah, that's correct. Yeah. All right, let's share screen again.
Yep.
Yeah, that's better. It's much better. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now we're seeing the images. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So I hope y'all remember what I said. But yeah, so right is so pretty much it's the Greek understanding how the Greeks interpreted the Hebrews understood the world. So did y'all get all that? Did you at least?
Yes. No,
Okay.
the audio was good, you know. It's just the graphic that was pixelated.
Gotcha. All right. So let me go back to my scripture screen. No, that's not what I want. Okay, here we go. The words, yep, they look better. All right, so you see the key, like I said, the King James Version, we see the word firmament. And then later on the PowerPoint, we're going to focus a little bit more on this word firmament, because this word is important, because from the researcher, just understanding this whole 1 through 10, this word firmament, of what they translated from as firmament, kind of gives clarity of what the Most High was doing in this action. So we put this back down. So if we were to look at the KJV, NIV, CJB, even from the one that Chris read, they're different versions describing the same event. Each translation, except the one Chris read from, is using a Greek Western way of thinking. The transliterations were intended for a Greek audience using concepts they would understand. There is very little care to retain the Hebrew meanings and understandings. So this word we say a lot, transliterations. I like to think of transliteration just in a common sense, or common understanding approach, is transliteration is colonialism of words. It is literally the process of changing a word from one language and basing that change off how the word sounds, not what the word actually necessarily means. So if words or the letters sound the same, that's what they'll transliterate that word or phrase into, even though it means nothing at all of what they're taking the original meaning from. Hence, how we get Jesus from Yahushua. They have no connection whatsoever, but yet they say they transliterated and made it this name, and then said this name means what the Hebrew name means, which it does not at all. So that in itself is what's a clear evidence of what a transliteration is, because they based it off the sound, not what it actually meant. So here's a picture of the Hebrew Aleph Bet. Sister Carter did an amazing job walking us through each of one of these letters and giving us understanding and meaning. And I found this online when I Google search, and I love this chart because it actually puts it all in one neat space. So I wrote everything down, and it's all in my papers. And of course, having kids, stuff got Cheeto juice all over it, Dorito juice. It just gets real messy. So it's not the same piece of paper it was when I first wrote on it. But at least with this, it's in a nice, easy format to understand. All right, so we're going to take this section by section and then kind of break it down from there. So in the beginning, Yahweh or Yahuwah created the Ha-Shamayim and the Ha-Aris. So in the very first verse, we see a statement made, and then we start getting the breakdown of how, or the process that the Most High did to establish the heaven or the heavens and the earth. So in verse 2, and the earth was without form, or the Hebrew word tohu, and void, bohu, and chosek, darkness was upon the panim of the Tehom, the deep abyss, and the breath of Yahuwah moved upon the panim of the Ha-Mayim, the waters. So
I don't mean to cut you.
Yep.
You notice how simply reading it that way explains what the Ruach HaKodesh is?
Yep. Simple. So this in itself, like the PowerPoint I created could have been way much longer than this, because it's literally like breadcrumbs. Like one thing will take you to a whole other thing, and I was all over the place. So hopefully this isn't scattered out into. And one thing I want to make sure that I'm not is trying to be over studious, trying to be over smart. We got enough of that nonsense going on in the world. Is everybody want to sound smart without actually being smart? So I kind of wanted to break it down, but not, so it may be a little Stanley all over the place, but I kind of want to touch these different things so we can just see actually kind of how simple it is to understand the meanings of these words.
I actually don't think it's all over the place. I'm just looking at it and I'm saying, wow.
You can see the connections.
Stuff moved upon.
Yes, you can literally start seeing the connections with how the words are. So the first one is, again, I'm no philosopher student. I don't know even, but I do believe it's tohu. So I'm actually, I'm actually going to pull up the Strong's Concordance, and we can look at it side by side. So Strong, and I make sure to put the numbers too. So this is Strong's 8414. It should lead you straight to the word. So this is the first one, and it's pronounced tuhu. And in that we see that the tuhu is ta, he, wa.
Mm-hmm.
So the Strong's Concordance has it as formlessness, confusion, unreality, empty.
Come on. Come on.
Okay, let me look.
think that's what, is it Fatima? I think your mic is on, Fatima. I can't see it, Chris.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't see how to mute it. I think that's Fatima.
I deal with it. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
I don't know.
So these are the words they
Started
use.
to pixelate again. I don't know what's happening on your end.
This is crazy.
I wonder if close some of your tabs if you have more than one
Yeah,
tab
maybe
open.
maybe that's it. Let me close maybe my YouTube is draining.
Yeah, maybe it's being starred for bandwidth. You may have to restart this.
Yeah,
Restart the
stop.
graphic.
Share again.
Yep.
Okay, is it better? Yep. So it's the covenant. So we see Ta Hewa, which is the covenant to reveal, to show, to secure. And this is coming from that chart I had listed up here. So we see Ta and He. He, and then Wa. The covenant to reveal, to show, to secure. So form is understood from the Hebrew perspective is the covenant reveals and secures. So to be without function, that means the word hasn't revealed it and secured it. So in this sentence we see, and the earth was without form, it means it wasn't revealed through the covenant and it wasn't secure yet. So to me, that's powerful to how a Hebrew will understand it, not say that something doesn't have form. I mean, because that can kind of take your mind to different avenues. But when we look at it as simple base, where we, because we can say without form it's chaotic and all this, that we can use all these different words, but from the very name of the letters of the word, it's the covenant not showing its purpose or securing it. So that's why I put i.e. function. So to be without form is not to have a function. And then we have, let me see if I can pronounce it, Bohu. I don't even know if I want to pull the screen up again. I don't want to see if it hopefully doesn't pixelate again. Strong's 922.
You want to email me the PPT? And let me see if I can pull it up for you.
Maybe that'll.
You want to send it to anyone? It doesn't matter.
Let me stop sharing real quick. So that may help.
You can send it to either B-Roll Productions or Exploring Torah.
Okay.
Whichever you.
Probably should do this before I started.
What do you have it on? Google Docs or?
I have it. It's actually on my desktop. It's not even in.
What program?
Oh, it's PowerPoint.
PowerPoint. Okay. Where are you sending it to?
To hold on. To wait a minute. Where's the? Thought I had the email.
Just do exploringtorah@gmail.com.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I had.
It's the easiest one because the B-roll is a whole sentence.
Exploring Torah at Gmail, right?
Yeah, exploringtorah@gmail.com. The same one we use every week.
Hey, Daddy, your mic is low, by the way. I'm not
My
sure.
mic is low.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh, I hear you fine.
Well, I guess just in comparison, I can hear
Oh,
you, but
oh, because I'm not presenting now, and
oh no,
I'm
no,
more
it's too low now. It's too
meditative
low
mode
now.
now.
It's too low
Yeah,
now.
that's
It's too
fine.
low.
No, I'm too loud.
Yeah.
Okay, is work better?
Yeah, this bit.
Oh yeah, 'cause you see, I'm listening now, so I'm not as loud.
I sent it. So when you get it, then
You just continue when you
yeah.
see me. I'll let you know when I get it and it's up. So
Okay.
just continue with that.
All right. So let me put it back up. Get it back up here. Where are we? Dope. Share screen. One. Share. How am I looking? It looks clear. Is it clear?
Yeah. Yeah, it's clear.
Stanley, did you send that thing?
Yeah, I sent it.
It's not. It's something wrong. Okay, continue. I'll
All right.
wait.
So we have. Okay. So we have Strong's 922. It's pronounced, looks like boohoo or boyhoo, looks like boohoo. And it's the Strong's Concordance has it as emptiness. The breakdown of this word is bet hewa. So it's with family, to reveal, to show, to secure. So the sentence I came up with is the connection reveals and secures, which is I support. So when
It's a little bit blurry on my screen.
Yeah, it is.
again,
Check to see if you had sent that, Stanley. If that email had bounced.
Is there any way to change like maybe the resolution of the share screen?
yeah, see, that's the thing. When I share it, when I go to video settings,
Whatever you just did, it glitched. It means that whatever your bandwidth is low.
oh yeah, I am in my
Yeah, I think I've seen that it starts to pixelate after you pull up the internet tab.
got
That's
you.
usually when it starts to pixelate.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm in the in my basement down here.
If you send it to me,
But
I can put it up on the screen and
Yeah, I see it, and you didn't get it yet?
no,
It didn't bounce back.
it means your bandwidth is low.
Yeah, but when I sent it to you, and it didn't give me a error or nothing like that. That the email got bounced back.
Yeah, it's
You haven't gotten it yet. Let me resend it again.
I've been doing that.
Yeah, exploringtorah@gmail.com.
Yeah. Wonder if it's you know what, send it to BROLL Productions with an S at gmail.com. .jm at gmail. You know what? Let me put it in there
Yeah, put it in the chat for me.
in the chat.
You put it in the chat.
Yeah, it's in the chat. So just copy that and paste. It should.
I don't see it.
Where? Wait.
Oh, there you go. Sheesh.
Delays. So, Ruthlyn, how are you doing? How's your mom?
Yeah, I'm curious too.
Ruthlyn,
Yes, brother Chris.
how you doing? How your mom?
Yeah, you know, I just like literally walked off and I hear you say root, and I just turn around. But she's not better, but she's not worse. Today, after being in the hospital for like a week and a half, they tell my sister that she has pneumonia. So you know that the new coronavirus, as they're saying, is like a severe form of pneumonia.
So how did you get to her in the hospital? Okay.
They said she went into the hospital with it.
Okay.
Let me see. But she's there being miserable as usual, so that's a good thing. You know,
Okay.
being miserable is a good thing. It means that she's still in her right mind.
Yeah.
But gee, she's getting all flustered and frustrated because everything is like on her.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But we may have to come see you tomorrow, so I'm not sure. But we'll talk.
Get it, Chris?
I'm no. Something is wrong on your side.
Good night.
You know what? Ruth, we'll keep you in our prayers, and we will definitely see you.
Yeah, I'll be home tomorrow, or I can come by. Like, yeah.
So, but we'll keep you in our prayers on this platform as a group.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I might be traveling, but we'll talk some more about that. We'll see.
Yeah, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Stanley.
Yeah, this is crazy. It would be on the night where.
Yeah, you know what? Continue.
Yeah. Just let me know if you get it. I'm just keep.
Do you have Office 365?
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm working on.
Share it with me at kushite@hotmail.com. If you give me access to it, then I may be able to pull it up online.
Yeah, I don't even actually. I don't. Do I have Office 365? Yeah, I'm just keep going because I don't want to delay. Yeah, any longer, and it's blurry again, huh? Yeah. Because if I go upstairs, my kids and everything, it's just not gonna go well.
Yeah, I think if you just close it and restart it one more time, and then I don't know how much the internet, the Google Chrome is integral to the PowerPoint, but that's usually when it blurs up. So I think if you keep it on the PowerPoint, it'll stay clear at least.
Yeah.
And then we could just read the scriptures.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to pull it up. All right, so share screen. Let's do. What about now? It's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? Turn off some of the devices that are on your network.
Just phone. It's all right. Good. This is good to do.
Okay. You should be getting it. Now it's pulling up on my scent, so you should be getting it, Chris. Check the B-roll productions. All right, so we have Bet Haywa for Boohoo, or I do believe that's how you pronounce it. The connection reveals and secures, which is support. So that's what void. Shashek, darkness. Shet Shin Kav, to separate, cut off, to devour, consume, to cover, suppress. So what I get from this is separation from Yah is the feeling of being devoured and suppressed. So when we have darkness, where we're in a place of darkness, it's pretty much feeling that feeling of being consumed. So when I think of this, I think of like depression and things like that. And it's back blurry again. Yep. Nothing yet, Chris?
No. Been refreshing all this time. Keep presenting.
Maybe you could try sharing the file in the chat and then everyone can open it for themselves. I don't know if that'll
Maybe
help in the meantime.
You're right. That, yeah.
Or here in the Zoom chat, if you click file.
You know what? Yeah, let me do that. Because in that case, you should be able to get it from here. Let's see, attach. Breakout reaction, disable. You say in the chat?
Yeah, so once you open the chat, there's like a little page.
Oh, yep, I see it.
That's dog-eared, yeah.
From your computer, boom. Okay, yeah, that might be the best thing. All right, it's uploading. All right, so I'll just continue on, and then if necessary, I'll go back.
Loading.
Everybody see it in the chat?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Chris, can you open it from there?
I'm gonna download it, yeah. Okay, let's see.
Apologies for everyone out there.
It's
I should have did this.
downloading.
Should have, and even for those on YouTube, this is something I should have did this before. I didn't think nothing of.
Who suggested this? That was a smart thing. Thanks, Nadia.
Oh, you're a genius. High key a genius.
Well, I'll just be around, you know.
All right, looks like is it clear again?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. So we have Panim, which Pe Nun Yod Mim, entrance, opening, life surface action, to work, finished, chaos, water. The sentence I get from this is surface of the deep where the water chaos is about to be worked on. So when we read the word face in the English, we think of a surface. But for the Hebrew, it's not just a surface, it's a space that can be worked on and manipulated. And then we have the next one is Tahom, is Tah He Wa Mem, to seal, to reveal, to show, to secure water chaos. I get from this the seal that reveals and secures the water chaos, i.e. holds the functions of the waters. So when we look in the sentence, where we see deep and abyss, the Hebrew understanding is the place that secures and holds this water or the things that's liquid, because we're going to see later in the Pamport, it's not just water, it's also pretty much all things of liquid form. And then we see the when it says the face of the Ha-Mayim, we see Hey Mim Yod Mim, which is the open Mim. When we see the breakdown of the letters, we have the open, so this is a Mim, this is Yod, and this is Mim. When Mim has its opening, it's interpreted as flowing waters like rivers, And then this one is closed waters, which is like seas. So it says because mem is shown twice, water is not thought of as singular. Ha meaning the shows emphasis in the end of being primary.
Stanley?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sharing now.
Oh, much clearer.
All
right.
So I'm gonna have to follow you closely now. What are you seeing, guys?
Yeah, you're on the right page. That's it.
No, or you can use it. There's a thing where you can be drawing too, Stanley. Like, I don't know if you know, you can like draw lines and stuff like how I just did.
Oh, what did you do to do that?
It's a little pen button.
Annotation.
I don't know. On the phone, it looks
says
like
annotate.
yeah, annotate.
Look at the top, you see annotate.
Oh, I need to start sharing again?
Mm-mm.
No,
You
you
just
It's a drop down. It says view options.
Oh,
And then
I
it's
got you. Boom. Man.
sorry, I don't know how to delete this.
It's all right.
Oh,
It's all right. It's all right. It works. We could.
There's an
All right.
eraser there though, so I'm not sure.
All right. So yeah, this is that's much better. So so let's I can close that. Actually can keep that up. All right. So let's go to the next page.
Be able to give you control of this PowerPoint.
Yeah, let's see, options. What's the arrow? Do y'all see my
The
mouse?
same. Oh, my bad.
Huh? That's me. Do something on the screen. Let me see.
Draw. Let's see.
Chev was able to do that. What did you do, Chev?
Yeah, I just drew something.
Oh, you did. Oh, you did another squiggly like Chev. Can you delete it?
it's a process.
Yeah, undo. And then, yeah, I don't know how to, let me see.
I think you have to request remote control.
Remote control.
So that same drop
Yeah,
down
remote
should be a
control, yeah,
request.
So, bam.
Approve.
I don't work at Zoom, I promise.
You're controlling the screen.
Sounds like you should be the administrator.
Right. Now I just don't know how to move the next page though. It says I'm controlling the screen, but then.
Well, Dad, you can just skip it to the next page,
If
and
you tell
then
me, I'll
Stanley
just
can
move to
use
the
the pen
next
to.
Yeah, go to the next page. Yeah.
Oh, so you want me to go to the next page now?
Yeah.
Next page.
Okay.
So
So
your squiggly stays?
yeah, I don't know who did the squigglies.
What's that?
I don't think I did that. No, I didn't do that.
Let me see if that. Oh, I did. I erased it.
Erase it. Devil tell we old, like old people. What is the firmament? So this is where. So on this next one, we're going to focus on Genesis 1-6. Oh, just Genesis 1 verse 6. So in Genesis 1 verse 6, Chris, can you pull it up so we can?
You want to do Genesis 1 verse 6 also?
Matter of fact, I might be able to. My computer might be able to handle at least one thing. Genesis, and I can see.
You want me to read it or you want me to put it on the screen?
Let's put it on the screen.
All right. What I'm going to do. Coming up.
Oh, I got it. Y'all see my screen? It's on, and it's clear too. All right.
Okay.
I got it. Then I'll just stop. So verse 6 It says, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. So the reason we skipped to here is like, of course, looks like, 3, 4, 5 verses 3, 4, and 5 are fairly understandable. It's just verse 6 where it gets a little tricky in the understanding. Going back to the PowerPoint, it says the Hebrew word rakia, or rakia, is translated as firmamentum to mean vault. This was to give the understanding that, or to convey the thought of something being a solid dome. It's also translated, as we read from Chris's version, as expanse. So we see the letters here, which is Resh, Kof, Yod, Ayin. Resh, this here, can y'all see, do y'all see my corner? I don't know if y'all see my corner or not.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Okay. This is Resh. This is Kof. This is Yod. This is Ayin. This is the head of a man. This is the back of the same head. This is an arm. And then this is the eye. Another pictogram will show, is understood, is that the Kof is the needle head or a reel of thread. Later on in the PowerPoint, we'll see those different variations as well. It's also what needs to be understood about the Kof is that the Kof is simply the Resh with the back swoop representing the back of the head on it. And it usually comes to mean out behind, last, circle, or to encircle. So what we can get from this sentence is man, head, needle, thread, or to encircle, arm, eye. So the sentence that we can get is man, circle, to work, understand, experience. Another sentence I created was man is given the circle to work, to understand. Man is given responsibility of the sphere for worship experience. So right in this understanding of the rakia, which was being used to mean firmament, we see something bigger than both. We start to see something outside of something being a vault, and also something just simply as being an expanse. Because we see the head, the circle, or to encircle, to work, and to understand, or to see or behold. So this is where I start getting these sentences breaking down to where we can get any of these, or we can replace to understand, experience, to see, to behold. We can change these words around to get different sentences, but I think it's real clear in this last one is man is given responsibility of the sphere to worship. And this connects with Genesis 1-26. And there's so many different verses that describes the purpose of man in taking care of the earth, because we have to remember that Adamah was given dominion over the earth, and then that dominion, he was told he was responsible for it. He was given ownership of it. So to me, this is where we start seeing the rakia as more than just expanse or a vault. Let's go to the next page. So
that one?
Yep, this right here. So with that being said, how does one experience?
You should be able to control it though, but go ahead.
Yes, I don't know what button even. Oh, did I do
Because
that?
you keep telling me it's waiting for you to control it.
Yeah, I don't even.
That didn't you just move it?
You don't even say. Oh, you know what?
Whatever you did, you moved it.
I got it.
Oh, that was Genesis that I put in it, so, but you can just ignore that slide.
I think I got it. Yep. Are you doing it or is that me?
You.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
not even touching the keyboard.
Solid. All right. So how does one experience the sphere, or how does one experience the rakia? So if you look at these, what we understand is the kof. If you look at the variations of kof, we see this one here with the swoop, encircling. We see this one with the circle with something in the middle, a line in the middle, and then we also see that spindle thread where we see the circle with two different points on the end, and we also see it where it's a circle with a line across the middle going horizontal. So again, from here, we can start seeing the formation of something bigger than just being expanse. We can start seeing something a little bit different from being something flat. So again, we have this circle with the line going vertical. We have the circle with 2 points at the top, and then the circle horizontal. So based on these ancient pictograph variations, we see not just a dome, but an encircling around lines. So to me, we can start seeing the creation that the Most High in this expanse is beginning to create hemispheres, where this line is separating east and west. We get the east, west hemispheres, and then separating this way to get the north and south hemispheres. So the big thing that we have to understand with this separation of hemispheres is that by creating this sphere, not something just a dome or something like that's flat or solid or something on a tabletop, when you start looking at horizontal and vertical lines, we can start seeing maybe that it's the equator or the prime meridian. And so we can start seeing that the Most High is developing something to give how the way for man to experience this expanse is how to navigate, right? Because we have to understand that back in those times, they didn't have GPS. They had to navigate using the stars,
yes, the constellation.
constellations. Even when you look at the pyramids, we start seeing how they had to know something in those, some kind of line to be able to put pyramids lining up certain ways
across the world.
Yes. So just in these images, we have to, like the third image here, this looks almost like North and South Pole to me, so that word firmament or expanse does not give justice to what the word is telling us that the Most High was doing in the expanse, because you don't experience an expanse without some kind of understanding how to navigate in it. So we see here that I wrote that the idea of the rock here as a solid comes from the misunderstanding of Job 37:18. If somebody can pull that up, or if maybe read it. Oops. Let me put Job.
Job 37:18.
Yep.
All right, hold on. Get down. All right, 37 and 18. From the statement says, have you with him spread out the sky, which is strong, and as a molten looking glass.
So with this, it was interpreted that we said looking glass and molten, that it would be understood that the expanse is solid, just from that simple statement. Now, one thing we know is that when language uses words like light, they're describing something in a way that somebody could get the picture. Not necessarily is this something literal per se, but something to be able to convey the picture to somebody who's reading it. So that is where the misunderstanding of what we understood as something solid or being a vault comes from. Let's go to the next slide. Now, if you look at Proverbs 8:27, it mentions the word face. Now, if we look at the picture on the left, we see the prime meridian, we see the equator, and we see this division of quadrants, if you will. I don't want to say quadrants, of sections of the sphere. If you look at that left picture, it kind of looks similar to a face. That's why I found the image of how you, like, if you Google how to draw a face, you start seeing these lines that look very similar So again, in Proverbs 8:27, it's using language to that the person reading it could understand it and relate to what they're saying, not necessarily that it's a surface or something being flat. So that's why I found the picture on the left and the right to compare how the very face, and we're also referring to the resh and the cough being that picture. Let me go back that we see here. If we look at the cough has the resh in the front and the swoop in the back. So in just the same of a sphere, we can see how it could be described as a face. These lines here. They have the equator going down the middle. I'm sorry, going across the middle, horizontally and vertical, the prime meridian. So it's give you that understanding of how they would have understood it. Next slide. So if you go the rest of verse 6, it says, what is the water, water, water? Because we know Ma'im is loosely translated as water. So it says, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. So we know the word would not be firmament, it'd be rakia. And in this rakia, it'd be an expanse of things that's the Most High is using that that man would be able to experience. In the midst of the waters, hamayim, and let it divide the waters, ma'im, from the waters, la ma'im. So all these different variations of ma'im all point back to Strong's 4325. However, again, the open mem, the closed mem, when you see the variation of ma'im and la ma'im, the ma'im being the moving liquids, and then la ma'im being the water pulled out from the liquid to create the gas ocean, which is the atmosphere. So science actually agrees with scripture that the atmosphere is pretty much full of water and that it's virtually a gas ocean. And then you see the next here in verse 8, we see, let me pull up. So we see Genesis. Verse 8. Can somebody read Genesis 1 verse 8 for me again?
Genesis 1:8.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, oh, did I get to 20? And Yah called the dome sky. So there was evening and there was morning, a second day.
That verse 8?
Genesis 1:8, yes.
Yeah.
That's a CJB.
Oh, okay, yeah, you know it's different. So it should be verse 9 in the CJB.
Verse 9. Yah said, let the water under the sky be gathered together in one place, and let dry land appear. And that is how it was. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that's it.
No, because I need the one that says, and God called that might be verse 7, and God called the firmament heaven in the evening and the morning was the second day.
Okay, I'm just going to read from 6 then, because we always have to back up when we're doing.
Yeah, the CJB kind of, yeah.
Yah said, let there be a dome in the middle of the water. Let it divide the water from the water. 7. Yah made the dome and divided the water under the dome from the water above the dome. That is how it was. 8. And Yah called the dome sky. So there was evening and there was morning, a second day.
Okay, yep, that's what I want. Yep. And it says, so in what would be verse 8 in the KJV, and God called the firmament heaven. Now, of course, the KJV is using the word heaven, where in the CJB and many other translations that try to retain the Hebrew would use the word sky. is from what we read. So it says Samayim, Strong's 8064. It contains Ma'im, which is the word for water. And this is directly from Jeff A. Benner. We see one derived from the unused root, Shama, possibly meaning lofty. The plural form of this word would be Shamayim. Verse 2, derived from the root Shamam, meaning desolate, in the sense of a dry wind blowing over the land and drying it out. The plural form of this word would also be Shamayim. And this connects with Genesis 9, where it says that the waters will be pulled back and reveal the earth. So this is actually, this definition itself is connecting to the very next verse, where the waters are drawing back. Number 3, the word Shamayim may be the Hebrew word Mayim, meaning water, and the prefix sh, meaning like. Combine the word Shamayim would mean like water. Aside from the debate of the origin of the word, it is clear the word is commonly used in the biblical text for sky. It is frequently used in conjunction with the word Zeret, meaning land, representing the whole creation in the domain of God. So again, we're seeing that the Mayim and the Shamayim are being two hemispheres that are connected. So again, we're starting to see this repetitive mentioning of hemispheres. Let me go to my next page. Why is it not going in? Now it's like it's all mixed up. This is not.
Let me look at it. Don't move your mouse.
Okay.
This crazy stuff, you know what it does? My mouse just disappears when you're moving.
What about now? I'm not touching it.
All right. After the head, then we have that. Oh, let me just delete those 2 pages. There are 2 blank pages in between. What should come next?
Yeah, that's not right. Something's it's deleted.
Well, I just removed the blank pages. Do you want that hyperlink page with Exodus 24:10 at the top?
No, that's not the next page. It's a whole lot more than that.
Something disappeared in the translation then.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, in the transliteration.
This thing literally deleted. Oh my gosh.
What are you seeing?
I see it skipped to, I see the links, but it was those blank pages had stuff on them. They weren't blank.
Guess what might have happened? Because you sent it via Zoom, what kind of information was on it?
It was going into.
Were they like hyperlinks or?
No, it was words. It was slides.
Because even now those things didn't even show up in mine.
No, nothing. It says it was having. It's not even showing in mine anymore. Oh, it didn't save.
It didn't save? Do you still, oh, it's not in yours anymore? Oh, I know that feeling.
God almighty. Yeah, I had almost 20.
Work, in the future, work in like Office 365 or on Google Docs, so it automatically saves it.
Yeah, it's missing a whole. Yeah, it's missing a lot of stuff. I'm missing 3. All right, so let me do I created something else too. So let me just go
Stop
into
sharing?
that. Yeah, go ahead and stop sharing.
Okay.
Yeah, it dropped all my pictures. It's the worst right now. and I shut down all my other. So what I had actually, let's for the I guess for the time being, hit those links that I had. So at least we can start kind of.
On the page that says Exodus.
Yeah, go to click the one, copy the one where it says, where are the stars located in the flat Earth model? Like I'm missing tons. It's
all right. What do you want me to do with it?
share it.
Oh, you mean open it and share it?
Yeah, open it and share it. Yes.
So, okay. Pull it over. Sharing.
Okay. No, that's the that's the one that says what is the function of the Earth's core. I need the one that's where are the stars located in the flat Earth model.
Oh, it's not hyperlinked though.
No, it's not. Yeah, no, it's not that one. Yeah,
I'm just gonna copy the link then.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, so I researched and looked up some evidence outside of scripture that will show pretty much some flaws within the flat Earth theory. So pretty much the flat Earth theory is pretty much saying that it looks like a globe. So we have the globe up top, or the spherical globe up top, and then flat earthers are looking at it from them like a snow globe. Now the issue with the snow globe is that, scroll down, that you have to reconcile the position of the stars when you say that it's just a globe. So we see in this example that you can reconcile the stars. You can do it from the North Pole, because if you scroll back up, kind of scroll back up a little bit where it shows the sun, see from the north. So this is how they're viewing how the world layout is. And you can plot the North Star, this little spot. I don't know. I don't know if you can see that little star at the very top of the globe. That's how you plot the North Star, and virtually that's how they're saying the sun. They're saying the sun is that size, and the moon. They're literally saying this their literal presentation in the flat Earth. And of course, they have different models. They have tons of different models, but this is a prevalent one. So that right there would be the North Star. Now, if you scroll back down, this is how you would plot it. This is how they're saying you plot it. Now, the flaw is you can't do the same from, this model doesn't work from the southern hemisphere, because if you think the Earth in itself is a flat surface with a dome on top, you can't reconcile how the northern or the southern hemisphere can see the stars. Because if you think it's flat like this, there's no such thing as a south of a globe, a snow globe, because south would technically be the outside of this rim. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. There's no such thing. So with a flat surface, there's no such thing as south, because south in essence would be the whole perimeter of the circle. You follow?
Oh.
So that's the flaw. There is, south would be the perimeter. So there's no such, so in essence, south doesn't exist. So there's no way they would be able to explain how the southern hemisphere can see the North Star. You would, to be able to reconcile that. So there's no way to reconcile the star map. And it says in this article, there's not a single star map at all created. You can't create it because there's no such thing as a south in a flat surface. So every position of the constellation would be pretty hard to reconcile if it was a flat surface with a dome. So I found this article pretty interesting in itself, that's a huge flaw and thinking it's like a snow globe instead of a sphere.
Now that you mention it, if you also think about it, now that I'm thinking about it, with y'all separating the waters above and below the firmament, if you think about it, that you, especially with how deep they claim that the sea is, it wouldn't make sense for the earth to be flat.
Correct. So actually, I was able to, the slide, did it? No. So if you pull my PowerPoint back up, Chris, I'm sorry, I know I keep bouncing back and forth.
That's okay.
Go back up right before that one. Okay. So a lot of the misconception, right before this slide, I had examples of the scripture that points to the pillars. The reason that a lot of flat earthers think, or the Greeks were thinking that the Hebrews were thinking of a flat earth, and that there was something other than, remember that picture I showed in the very beginning of what the Hebrews thought, what the Greeks thought the Hebrews, whether we had Sheol or Hades underneath. Yep. So where Sheol exists, they're saying this is the pillars, right? And those scriptures don't correlate to what the actual words for pillar means. So if you go back to that slide,
Which of them?
the one that had pillar, the one you just came from.
I came from.
Yep, that one. So again, let's look at the kuf, because remember in the Rakia, the kuf was what was being created, and the kuf has the resh and the backside of it. So again, we have to deal with hemispheres now. So the word for pillar in this context is matsu, which is mem sade wa kof. Again, you see the kof. It's translated to mean molten support or pillar. So in this context, if we're going to view it as molten support, it breaks down as water pulls toward a peak to the last. So when we think of a sphere, think of, remember, we have to think of it as a 3D object, a sphere. The water pulling towards a peak to the last is given the description of a volcano. So it's saying, so the Hebrew would have understood molten, the core, and magma, because they understand that the center or the core of the earth is the first. We have the separation of all the liquids, the ma'ims. We have different variations of ma'ims, this moving liquid pulling itself to the peak of something and coming out. The first being the crust, and the second being the exit point. So with mountains, it's water coming out the mountains, underwater spouts and geysers. Volcanoes, it's the water, or what we now know as magma, pulling towards the peak and emitting as what we know as lava. So if you look at Job 9:5-6, I can pull that up. So Job 9:5-6 is, which removed the mountains, and they know not, which overturneth them in his anger. Now I'm using, instead of using CJB, I'm using the King James Version, because this is the main version that the Koine Greeks, or the Greeks at the time, would have been using in interpreting what the Hebrews would have known. It says, so verse 1, which removed the mountains, and they know not, which overturneth them in his anger. Verse 6, which shaketh the earth out of their place, and the pillars thereof tremble. So we see in verse 6, there's a separation, a shaking of the earth out of her place, and the pillars therefore thereof tremble. So in that context of pillars, we can see the pillars being something connected to the earth and trembling. So again, it's almost like them describing an earthquake, right? Shaking and trembling and causing the mountains to move. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Go back to the pillars.
Oh, I'm here clicking on the pillars on the.
Yeah. Now, the second part is of pillars. So we have the context of molten support within describing pillars, and then pillars in another way. So in this way, it's massive fish hooks, point of a rock, back of the circle. Now, if we Google the image of vertical lines on a sphere, it wouldn't be too hard to understand that somebody trying to describe them, it would look like pillars. So if we go to look up the word latitude or look up latitude on the earth, look at an image. We see this imagery of what to a person who's trying to give the picture of pillars, because it goes from the bottom of the structure of a sphere all the way to a top. Now, if you look at these images from the side, because it has the word, oops, going back to, fish hooks. So in this context, it's something massive, looks like fish hooks, points of a rock, and it's the back of the circle. Well, again, we look at this picture, it gives a hooking, it hooks around, goes from the bottom to the top. So for a community of farmers, it wouldn't be too far-fetched for them to relate the curvature of latitude on the earth as a hook or a fish hook. And it goes from one point to the other. And again, it all builds on the image of the kof, which is the resh, combined with the soup on the back. So we get this sphere with these massive fish hook lines that connect 2 points of the rock that goes to the back of the circle. The back of the circle from a sphere point would be the top. So you have the bottom going to the top. So with the matsuk pillar in this context, it wouldn't just be them trying to describe something on the house, because if we note the Strong's 5982, the word amon is the type of columns built for structures. So this is not the same type of pillar that's we're describe a straight pillar versus one that curves like a fish hook. So I find that very interesting that we see that in the sade, which is the fish hook. It's referring to the curved part of the fish hook.
There's so much to learn in this.
So I see so I'm trying to find so this image here, it bows, it has it, I'm trying to find like a side view, how it gives you that curvature of a hooking. So that the picture I had, all those slides are.
You're looking for the Zade?
No, I'm not looking for, I'm trying to put the side image of a globe to giving that hook. I mean, we know it's curved, from what we believe, but the side A, let me just look at the side A. Let's do that. Pictograph. The tip of the fish hook, see how it's curved? So these are all the modern, but the pictograph would have been the fish hook. And we see in the fish hook this curvature. So to me, these people would have understood something being massive and curving. They would have took it as something massive and straight, because the pillar for something straight is a different word.
But if you look also at how they conceive sun rising and setting, it, it doesn't go in a straight line till it disappears.
And actually, I'll
As
show.
in the east
Let
and
me
south.
do my. I built the structure with my wife. I got to give a shout out to my wife. She helped me big time. And I'm just, see, here's the study of the pictograph. See the hooking, something curved.
Mm-hmm.
So the actual hooks they would have used would have been curved. So there's just notice it's a circle attached to it. And again, we're talking about ways to experience the expanse. So it's not just surfaces or just open space. It's like it's the responsibility to experience this creation that the Most High said, I'm going to separate. And the way you do that is by navigation. And the only way you navigate properly back then is through the stars, longitude, latitude, cardinal directions. There's no GPS. So to me, these people have a clear understanding of things being curved, not flat. They don't even think like that. They think in circles, if you will. So for the Greeks to interpret these things as being flat, when in that very word for column or pillar, there's a totally different word, which is a moon. So if we go to Psalms, pull this up.
Got it. It's up.
We got it up. Okay. Yep. So it says, unto thee, O God, do we give thanks. Unto thee do we give thanks, for that thy name is near, thy wondrous works declare. When I shall receive the congregation, I will judge uprightly. The earth and all its inhabitants thereof are dissolved. I bear up the pillars of it. Salah. And said unto the fools, deal not foolishly, and to the wicked, lift not up the horn. So again, this word here would have been not the amud, but the matsuk. And so when it's referring to the pillars of the earth, they're not talking about straight columns. They're talking about something that's curving. Because in this very word, it has the sade in it with the kuf. So again, we see the circular, sade, curving on the kuf. The next one, let's see. So the molten support, they literally are describing this, what we've come to understand as lava flow or magma flow. Coming from a crust, coming this way, erupting out. This is how it happens from a circular viewpoint. If this is literally what they're describing. So the way a Hebrew would describe that picture is literally the way that they're describing in the breakdown of the words here. Water pulling towards, or liquid pulling towards a peak to the last. This being the first, because this is what it's originating from, coming out to the last port, exit. So it's here, entering here, coming out. First, last. And then Shug Horizon, and I can't even really, because it's missing a whole slide. Let me do this presentation I was going to do. I built this thing in my room.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
Let me turn my video.
Sounds like family.
Yep. So let me stop my video here and then start my video from. Can y'all see me?
You want me to stop sharing?
I think it's echoing.
Yeah.
Because of.
There you go. What about now? Can y'all see me now?
I'm
okay. All right. So can y'all see this projector screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Still got this echo. All right. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So here is, again, can't see my screen, what they would have thought. Here. Again, here's the cough. Here.
You're moving too much though.
Oh, right about there. Right about there. Can you see there?
Yeah.
All right. Now, one thing I want to establish here is how do we know we're dealing with spheres? You know, how do we really know we're dealing with spheres? So one thing I did is look at what they talk about corners. I think a big talk of the flat earth is what I showed about that other picture in the Americas was that square with the coin in the middle is where we get the word corners. Now, the word corners appears, especially here when we start talking about Revelation. We see here, Revelation 7:1. It says, after this, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back its 4 winds so that no wind would blow on land or sea or any tree. Now, it's with this that it's now thought of, well, because we're talking about corners, because technically a circle does not have corners, we get this flat earth theory being sat or being viewed upon on a, I guess, quote unquote, square or having a base square or, you know, being something of a surface that's flat, because we're talking about something that has corners and a circle technically does not have corners. But if we click the word here, this is in Bible Hub, it takes us to the Hebrew word kanaf. No, I'm sorry. This is the Greek word they use is gonia, which indeed means an angle or corner. Again, reinforcing something being flat or being a squared, something not being a sphere. Now, the way we can determine what the Hebrew word is, we go to Isaiah 11:12. Come on. Hold on, let me go back. And of course, it does not want to act right. It's just, Satan is busy tonight, like nothing's going right.
It's okay.
Oh, let me
put it up for you. Stanley? Okay, so, well, okay, so he's working out that technical difficulty. You ready? Yeah, when you're doing something like that, it may seem straightforward, but there's a whole lot of technical stuff that goes in the background to get that to talk to that and that to sync with that and stuff. But I'm going to read Isaiah 11, and I'm just going to read from 11:1 until he gets back. 11:12 is what he called for. It says, "And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of Yahuwah shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of Yahuwah. And shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yahuwah. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But righteousness shall judge the poor. But with righteousness shall judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid. The calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and the little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall feed, their young ones shall lie down together. And the lion shall eat straw like the ox. And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp. And the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountains. For the earth, Eretz shall be full of the knowledge of Yahuwah, and as the waters cover the sea. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahuwah shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea." Note carefully here that it says a second time, not the topic. But the first time was the real Egypt, the first Egypt. The second time is going to be the second Egypt. And notice that it ends with the islands of the seas. It lists out all our captivities, or most of them, and ends with the last captivity, which is where we are now. "And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and shall gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistine toward the west. They shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. And Yahuwah shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea. And with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the 7 streams, and make men go over dry shod. And there shall be an highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt." So realize that he's looking at the second coming, the last events, in the very light that Egypt was looked at. And I believe that Stanley is pulling up here Isaiah 11:12 because it spoke of the four corners of the earth. Let me get my interlinear book. Wait, if I can find the word, if I can see it. Ruthlin should remember these books. Remember these books when we're doing the studies? Hardly ever looked in them because they are so small. Isaiah 11.
Oh yes, brother Chris, I remember them, man. Those were the good old days.
Yep. Still in good condition. Isaiah 11.
Oh, I was muted. I didn't realize I was muted. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we are seeing, you know.
I didn't realize I was muted. I was talking.
Calling you.
Uh,
Then I started reading because I couldn't hear you. Okay.
So in that verse, we saw corners. Now we remember in Revelations 7:1, the Greek used the word gonia, which does means corner. But the Hebrew word used is kanaf, which means wing extremity. Now, if we take this in consideration, wing extremity is something totally different from corner.
Mhm.
Now, think of your own body. If something's an extremity, that means it has to not only be your arm, leg, or your head, but if something's on the outside, that means it has to exist on the outside of your extremities.
Oh,
So if we apply this word to Revelation 7:1,
it means that the angels would have been outside.
exactly. And not only that, because we saw the letter Kof. So I'm going to turn around and I've actually built a 9-scale simulation here in my room, basement room. Turn the light on. Can y'all see this?
Yeah.
So my wife, this is kudos to my wife. We kind of is trying to give an idea. So I got my table representing pretty much literally what flat earthers believe. They believe that this is the surface of the earth, and say the legs of the table would be, this part would be down here, would be Sheol, and the pillar of the earth. Now, again, we've already went through the PowerPoint, even though it's missing a ton of information, that the pillar that they would have known would not been something straight. It would not be something in a linear fashion. It would be something curved, and not something that would exist just on the bottom, but something also across the middle that would give definition of what the horizon would be, right? So based off the previous pictures, that flat earthers believe that the dome is only at the top, that there is no dome underneath. Now, based off what we just said about the kanaf and the angel standing at the four corners, it would make zero sense if the angels were standing on top of the tabletop, because we see in the Qaf that the horizon has to strike through the middle. If the angel is standing on top of the table, that means the horizon would not cut across the angel's midsection. We follow?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. And I was sorry to interrupt, but I was
No.
gonna say that's a cool representation that you're using, that you guys made. That's so cool.
Thank you.
It looks like, yeah, it looks like you guys use like the swimming pool floaties.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So with this present, so yeah, this is what I wanted to represent. So in their mind, there is no core, because remember in the global or the spheric, there's a core. So what we think is core, they think is a flat surface. So the disagreement isn't that there isn't a dome, which I find it ironic that even as a flat earther, you believe there's a sphere on top, but not at the bottom. Now, again, Hebrews are cyclical. If something occurs in one space, it has to occur in the other space. So that alone should let any person who understands scripture and then understands the Hebrew, that they would not believe that a dome would exist here, but not exist here. So again, going back to the angels, Revelation 7:1, that the requirement would be that the angels would have to be standing in a way where the horizon would have to cut through the middle, because if they're standing on top of the table, that means the horizon is not cutting across the midsection. So another thing I found interesting about the flat earther, I'm moving, is remember that globe I've shown how they was talking about the North Star. So let's take an effect this not the scale structure. Let's take this as, again, the flat surface, the rest of some, imagine a dome. So in their mind, the sun is literally this small, this little flashlight. So their belief is that the sun is doing this enough, it's far out enough to where it moves and then it gives you the day going around like this. Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So they believe it's doing this, that the sun is inside the expanse or the rakia, and the stars are fixed. Some believe the stars are fixed. Some believe that the stars move with the sun. There is really no standardized flat earth theory. It's just different variations trying to accommodate to meet certain requirements to say, oh, this meets this, but then it fails at certain other points. So it's literally chaos. So their belief is that the North Star would be roughly here, and that the sun would be roughly here, spinning around the table or the surface, giving the day, right? See this, so from the Northern Hemisphere, again, that works. However, from the Southern Hemisphere, that doesn't make sense. Another point is, for the sun to be this close, there would be no way for there to be a setting of the sun. To give us the image of a setting sun, that can't occur. So let me do with this little flashlight. If I get close enough to give a setting, if I get too close, the light does this. So either it's going to be like on a city and kill everybody, right? Because look at this. This is the sun. If I get too close, I'm killing everybody.
Yeah.
If I get too far, the strength isn't far enough, and I still don't set. So if I back up, you see how the light is shining on all the table? That means everybody in every position of the world would have sunrise. And we know that's not true. So, but just doing this, something as simple as this, if you bring the flashlight in close to try to give it a dipping motion, that means you're killing everybody. Look at it, you're so close that you're baking everybody. You pull out, that means everybody gets sunlight. So just from this simple example, we see if the flat earth theory was true, we would not have a setting sun. We would not have a thought or the process of seeing a sunset. It would literally just be the sun spinning around in circles.
But it would mean then, Stanley, that they would have to believe that the sun is actually smaller than the earth.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. So remember, this is my example. That's what I'm saying. They like I showed you in that they actually believe like it's a dome, like a Santa Claus snow globe, that the sun is only rough. They would have to for it to be just for it to give a daylight type of sense. They believe that the surface of the sun is roughly 30 kilometers across. That's super small. So, and to be that small, it would have to be this close, but it still would be too close. You'd be killing everybody. You'll be baking everybody. Like to be that close, you would be frying everything. Or you saying that the sun is weak. But in either still, if you get too close, there is no, look at the light. It would give a straight path. There wouldn't be no way to say that there's a sunset. It's not possible. You can't create a sunset in any way if the sun was within the rakia. So I just wanted to and just in that simple, if you even Google it, there's not one example that can compensate or show or rectify or reconcile the star map from the Southern Hemisphere or a sunset. Not a single one. But that's not all. Again, so we've identified that the angels would have been standing like me. So as we can see, it means the angels, like, so my chairs are the angels. So let's imagine in this example, my chairs are the angels. And the top of the heads, I got shirts on them and everything. And like I said, my wife, she got super creative. What I had was nothing compared to this. So she helped me out big time. So big blessings to my wife. I told her, thank you. But she did it all up. She got the little cups, the little arms. So just in this scale, let's just imagine that these 4 angels are standing at the extremities. Remember, it's kanaf. It's not corners, it's extremities. Now, because it's a sphere, it makes sense. Because if at any point in a circle, because we're talking about the cardinal directions, remember we have to talk about the horizon and then the latitude and longitude, prime meridian, the poles, all that is demonstrated in.
Can I say something really quick?
Sure.
I feel like I have not another example. It's very, very similar, but I had like this vision of like when we were little. When I was little, we had this like parachute thing. I feel like everyone had it, and it's like when we're in the corners, we are in corners, but we're not, because the same thing is circular. You know, when you like lift it up and then go under it, it's like a dome. You when you're younger, it's like the parachute thing. And then I also thought of like when you're younger too, like when you do like Ring Around the Rosie, it's like you're holding hands, but like you're showing in the example, the sphere is the corner. It's not just flat. And
Right.
I got that like vision of that same thing. So if someone else like is understanding it but needs that push, like that's another example too.
Right. And that's why they don't use corners, they use extremities. Because if for a circle, because if they said corner for a circle, that makes no sense.
Right.
Right. Because a circle technically does not have corners, but it does have extremities. And it's an equal, usually it's for the most part, when we talk about latitude and longitude, especially the equator, which is the horizon of the Gulf, the line in the middle of the Gulf, and the up and down line in the Gulf in certain images, you have the prime meridian, and then you have the equator, which land on perfect zero, right?
Right.
It's perfect zero. So in my not so perfect scale, we can see the equator, right? And the prime meridian. And what we just read again, that the angel standing on top of the tabletop could not work. It would not be correct because the equator has to run across the Gulf. It has to run through the middle. So my chairs, being the angels, here would mean that the legs, so when we talk about, again, going back to the word kanaf, that means that the wind, so you see my sheet at the bottom, this would be the image of wind from the bottom, because I can't give, of course, I can't put a circle underneath the table, but this is mimicking the wind. That means the wind has to be outside of the extremities, right? Because kanaf means extremities.
Yeah.
So anything that cuts in between the angels, for instance, if their arms were tucked, that means it's not the extremities because your arms are now protruding inside of your body. The winds have to be below the feet, beyond the hands, and above the head. Because that's extremities. For the wind to go past your extremities, it has to be above or beyond or underneath your body. Right? So if we take the flat earth theory and say Sheol and the pillars and everything down here, if the angels were standing, it would make no sense for God to be worried about protecting the dead people, because the dead know nothing. Ecclesiastes makes that very clear, that the dead know nothing. So there would be no purpose for God to create a hemisphere at the bottom, again, because we know the angels have to be standing with their midsections meeting at the equator. And the winds or the sphere has to extend below their feet. There would be no reason to have a hemisphere protecting something that's dead. Not at all. So it would not, there's no way to me, from just what I'm reading from understanding Rakia and the requirements of the angel standing, that a flat earth, the Hebrews would have understood or thought the earth was flat, because their minds work in a cycle. They speak in a cycle. If one thing exists here, because one thing that the flat earthers believe, there is a dome up top. So if a dome exists here, it has to be underneath. So, and underneath is the winds of the bottom of the feet of the angels. So just like here, we see their arms. These are representing the arms of the messenger. Here, wrap around. So again, the winds cannot come past this part and be below this part. Now, this thing isn't strong enough to support the, because it is just water noodles. But if I took this sheet and laid it on top, this is what creates what we know as the ozone layer, because it's going above. So that means the angels are standing inside. They're standing inside of the shell of the sphere, because again, the winds can't pass their bodies, right? We see here that, imagine a head being here. So if they're standing inside, that means this noodle would be behind its head. So the angels would be standing inside. I don't know if can y'all see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it.
So the angels will be standing inside of the sphere, protecting against the outside wind. If I took this sheet, which I can't lay it on, it's not strong enough, but if I laid it on top as such, that means the sheet, what we know and believe as the ozone layer, is that sheet creating. So in essence, the sphere, these noodles represent the Earth's crust. So the surface of the Earth is not going to be here, because again, if the dome exists here, it has to exist underneath. And then it would make no sense for God to protect something that has no life or have no purpose, because the dead know nothing. Then it would make no sense for the sun to be in here, but yet we see a sunset. It would make no sense that we can reconcile the stars from the northern hemisphere, but we can't reconcile the stars and seeing the stars of cosmos from the south, because in the flat Earth, south doesn't exist, because the south would be the extremity of the circle. So with that alone, that discards the flat Earth theory. So when we start talking about the angels positioning and creating what we know as the ozone layer, the layer of protection that keeps us from radiation, because the winds we're talking about is solar winds, right? And when we talk about heavens and the earth, there's articles. Chris is actually in that the link of the article, I do believe, that says there's gallons of water in space. And then there's also gallons, even more water. So we know for a fact there's water in the atmosphere. But scientists have said that even if it rained across the earth, it would only be about an inch. It'll drop about an inch. If it rained and covered all the earth, it'd be about an inch. So when we talk about the story of Noah, we know that it not only did it rain, but the earth opened up. And science has proven, it's in one of those articles, Chris, I do believe it says, is there water underground? It says that scientists have found 3 times the amount of water in the earth crust than it is in the oceans. So think about that. If we think about frozen water and the oceans, and there's 3 times the amount of that to me speaks to Noah, right? Because we know for a fact that the earth was covered with water. That water had to go somewhere. So it would make sense to me that water would have not dropped off the face of the earth or evaporated. It would have went right back into the earth or into the core of the earth, which scientists have found 3 times the amount of water inside of the earth's crust. So hopefully this little example didn't say, I deeply apologize for my PowerPoint and everything going on, but let's hope this gives a little, because I like to, I think the main reason I wanted to do this, the noodles and all that, is just give a visual, because it helps with, I know for me, I'm a visual learner.
Yeah, me too.
So to have
Yeah,
a
so am I, and that visual was good.
It was really good.
I was able to like imagine like everything you were talking about better when you showed your 3D model. So right. I'm a visual learner and I really like that. That's cool.
Right. I mean, it just works better when you can see it. And like I said, I know it's not the scale and everything, but it gives.
No, he did a good job. It looks awesome.
Thank you. Like I said, the wife did that. She hooked it up. But just looking at Revelation 7:1 and Isaiah 11:12, it gives even further confirmation that the Hebrews would have understood spheres, not a coin, a flat surface coin with a dome over top. because even flat earthers, if they believe that the dome was on top, that should, like I said, just thinking like a Hebrew, if one thing happens in one place, it has to happen in another. So if it's going to be a dome on top, it's got to be a dome in the bottom. And there's no reason to protect hell if all the quote unquote dead people are there.
When you applied the ozone layer, it brought to my mind vividly that, okay, so you couldn't have the sun below the ozone layer, because then the ozone would have no function.
Literally, everything has to have a function.
Saying, then they would have to put the ozone layer somewhere closer to the surface of the earth.
Absolutely.
The flat surface, that is.
And some models it goes back to thinking that the expanse or the firmament is the vault. So they believe all that stuff. They believe the stars, they believe the ozone, they believe all that stuff is in the firmament.
Mm.
So when going through the Rakia and breaking it down, to me, it screams that the Most High created this expanse to be experienced. And when you create expanses and he starts creating these hemispheres, that means to me that in the process of him creating these expanses, whether it's the horizon, the equator, he was conveying to Adamah, once he made man, like, look, I'm going to show you the way to experience what I just created for you. And so the way you experience how I create is give you ways to travel across it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know where to go if you didn't know the directions.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to put these stars, I'm going to put the moon, I'm going to put the sun in a position and operate. And even I'm going to tilt the earth. I'm going to do all these different things. I'm going to give you latitude. I'm going to show you that the columns that I created are for you being able to go up and, longitude. And then I'm going to have the ones going across going latitude. So I'm going to create all these things that way because if I'm going to give you dominion of the earth, I got to have, and I tell you to till it and take care of it, then that means you got to know how to travel across it. You got to know how to navigate across it, because I need you to experience my creation.
And they knew much more than that, because I watched a documentary on how they were trying to figure out how the stones were lifted in the pyramid. And because the pyramid are built on the magnetic line of the earth.
Yep. And go ahead.
They're showing us a simple structure in the ground. It's like a square. And when the guy stepped in there was like 100 more times energy inside that structure than one step outside the structure. And he said he couldn't figure out how is it that they harnessed the energy and stuff, because they have some theories on men harnessing energy. Now, if you did not know how the earth was created or have an idea of the
you couldn't do
construct, you wouldn't even know where to look, because all the pyramids are on this line, whether it's in Mexico, wherever the pyramids are, they are on this line.
They operate on a lines on the longitude latitude line.
Yeah.
And they're in the frequency. Again, you would have to deal with a non-flat earth or spherical structure with a metal core. They would have had to know at the time of creation, the Most High would have had to tell Adamah what we know as magma is, what we know as lava is, and how it creates energy and the electrical pool or magnetic field it creates on the earth. Because again, all this stuff is dependent on the core. To be able to have latitude and longitude, science agrees with scripture. You got to know direction. You got to know you have to know where to put things for things to resonate. You got to know how to travel to experience. Again, we're talking about experience because Rakia is about experience. The head giving the circle to man to experience. That's the literal translation of Rakia. Not just expanse, not some stone vault. It's the expanse or the creation that the Most High was doing was to give an experience to man. And in a Hebrew mind, to experience something, that means you got to feel it, touch it, smell it, hear it. So that means Adamah would have had to have directions to be able to walk, to do the stuff that the Most High wanted him to do.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I hopefully, like I said, I truly apologize for the delays and everything. It seemed like everything I had up was just, like I said, I had up a few other slides, but you know, it's we got through it. That is the.
Well, I learned a lot.
And
me too.
And of
so
course,
and that's just what I've interpreted. Like I don't look at. Yeah, I don't look at it as just these simple, figurative language. So what I found, in this study, in my research, I don't agree, of course, with the flat earth, nor they try to say that the language used by the Hebrews is just figurative or it's poetic. That's not how Hebrews operate. Nothing, not to say that they don't describe, like there's that saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, that's to the Greek. For a Hebrew, it's a few sentences, because a Hebrew is not going to focus on telling you every little thing in the picture. They're going to give you images. So when they say where they say that something is being described like by a jewel, or they say the sea is like sapphire, they're not saying or trying to translate to you or convey to you that they thought the sea was solid stone. What they're saying is the grace or the presence of something was like that. That way you can give an image, describe the picture like, oh, it was that type of glory. It was that type of that involvement, or it was that type of whatever.
Hamashiach does the very same thing in his object lessons.
Mm-hmm.
He used things that you could relate to paint the picture of the story in your mind.
Yep. So where's that verse? In like I said, in my slide I had, let me see if I can. I think it's Job. It might be this one, Job 34. If I can pull it up real quick to where it says, you know what? No, it's this one, Exodus 24:10. It's this one. Yep, it's this one. So let me share this. I want. So people who see this one's like, oh, Stanley just making this up. No, I want to make sure, at least, even though I'm missing tons of stuff, that I'm just not pulling this out of my rear end, as people say. But while I'm pulling this up, any commentary? Did any it's something? I said I'm missing so much stuff. Like I said, I didn't account for all that. But anybody have
I always go to the why, and maybe this is one of them that doesn't have a why, but in terms of scripture, whenever I see a dominant concept that is not aligned with scripture, I always ask myself, why? What was the purpose of doing this? What are they displacing? What scriptural lesson is being hidden here? You're having feedback.
Yeah, that's me.
I found a verse of Isaiah. It's on the Open Bible, and it's Isaiah 40:22, and it says, it is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and it inhabits are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them like a tent to dwell in.
Wow. So now it used the word circles.
Yep. And it's perfect in that, because again, for a Greek, a picture is worth 1,000 words. For a Hebrew, you just read a few sentences. So they were able to give you a picture of something with a few sentences because they're using words like. We know metaphor and simile. So we act like these people are dumb, right? We're taught to believe these people were primitive. Where in actuality, we're the ones that primitive because we're having to rely on technology. They were using math. They was just using a piece of paper, some looking at boom, boom. Next thing you know, we building cities. So we have to relearn or unlearn this idea that these people did not know what technology is confirming or trying to tell us now. And in that quick verse, they gave us a vivid picture of what was happening.
Right, and it kind of goes back to like when we were saying last week when it was like it's that simple, and reteaching ourselves, it is when we go back to scripture and like live off that as well.
Yeah, we want to outsmart ourselves. We want to like I say, I always say we want to act smart instead of just being smart. And I go on YouTube and watch different videos, and you hear people using these big words, and I try to refrain from doing. Of course, I can use the big words and all that stuff, but it's like that's not how I really talk from a day-to-day basis. I don't walk around using the unequivocally. It's enough of that. We get enough of that on the pulpit. We get enough from social media. We get enough from our educators. We need people to just be able to talk to us in a way that we can understand and it's clear, concise, without all the fluff. And so the main thing I wanted to do in this presentation was not to present a whole bunch of fluff. And that's why I broke down the word and tried to refer to the actual scripture. And so it's just presenting scripture in the truthful way that it was intended to be.
Right. And it's also like the childlike faith. It's like going back to just like if a child can understand it, we don't have to make it so hard for everyone to understand,
And that's how it had to be taught. Like but the before they wrote this stuff down in books where it was never meant to be written in books, it had to be simple enough that a child could understand. So again, we see that what you just read, a child could get that. Once a child of reading age will be able to get that understanding because they would know, I know what a sapphire looks like. I know what this looks like, Dad. I know what this looks like, Mom. So it would be a whole lot easier in the context of being childlike if we presented it in a childlike manner. But nope, we want to make it too smart.
Yeah, and I also found I don't know if this is the one that you wanted to use, but it was Job 26:10. It says he has inscribed a circle on the face of the waters at the boundary between light and darkness.
Yep, and that was actually that was on the page where I presented the face that looks like the face in the globe. That was what it like I said, it's just I don't know what happened. It like I said, 3 or 4 of my slides are gone.
Oh really? Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we found it.
Right. But yeah, that was one of the ones. Thank you. And then another one is Exodus 24:10. I wanted to pull this one up as well because this again uses the imagery for trying to convey what was happening. And it says Exodus 24:10. Actually, let me just read a little bit before and after. Can y'all see it?
Yeah.
All right. So it says, Moses, and I'm starting with 9. Moses and Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel went up and saw the God of Israel. Under his feet was something like a pavement made of lapis lazuli, as bright as blue as the sky. But God did not raise his hand against these leaders of the Israelites. They saw God and they ate and drank. So in 3 sentences, it gave you a vivid picture of what was happening. Moses, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and 70 elders of Israel went up. So notice in the Hebrew mind, it's not telling you they had on the new Jordan sandals. They didn't have on Gucci. They didn't. How we like to describe what the appearance is. They kept it Moses, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 elders. Now, what the Western mind will say, well, we don't know if they had on clothes, were they naked? We would start digging in deep stuff that doesn't matter to what's happening. Were they naked? What did they have? Staffs? Did they have what did it, it would start focusing on things that don't matter. The Hebrew said these cats, these four main guys and the 70 elders went up to the mountain. Verse 10, and saw God of Israel. So it was very specific. It didn't say a God. It didn't say that. It said God of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And then under his feet. So this is giving the vivid imagery that what they saw and what they're explaining is his feet approaching them. They saw a presence coming, and that under his feet was something like the pavement. So when we start talking like the pavement, that again is for them connecting to horizon. Because again, if you're standing up and you see the horizon of the sun, with the sun, it would look something like something you could walk across. And it says something like a pavement made of lapis lazuli, as bright blue as the sky. Very clear what's happening. Nothing more left than less. So what they're describing is the Most High approaching them with something, standing on something that looked like the horizon and as beautifully blue as the sky.
I'm just trying to imagine.
So notice they don't describe body parts. They see something approaching though. They can't describe in a way that will give you the proper picture, describe what was approaching or what was standing, but it says under the bottom of him, the glory was so beautiful, it looked like pavement of lapis lazuli, as bright blue as the sky. So for me, they weren't trying to describe head, ears, what they saw, they couldn't describe according to their body parts. So obviously it wasn't something human approaching them. But what they did see was the Most High's glory. And saw it. And then it says, but God did not raise his hand against these leaders, so he didn't rebuke them. He let them approach. They saw him and they ate and drank.
That's good. That's good.
So that is my presentation.
Well, I've certainly learned a lot, and I've never personally looked deep into it, but I'm now seeing from the Hebraic perspective that the corners mean the extremities, because I've never really looked at it or looked into it. But thank you, Stanley. And if you notice, I was quiet. I like to listen when I'm here, when I'm getting knowledge. And I learned a lot. And it clears up a whole lot also in terms of holding the four winds of the corners of the earth. I mean, it was never a problem for me because I didn't see it as a square earth. But now that you're saying that, it opens that so much more, so that I'm seeing the extremities now. I'm seeing the angels now being on the outside, have a better grasp, a better view, a better vantage point of earth, and how it is to manage the affairs of earth, being on the extremities.
Yep. Because it wouldn't be extremities if it passed through any phase of the hands stretching forward or wherever their body is. If it passes through that, it's not an extremity.
Right.
And they're not doing their job. They would be failing in their job.
And the text actually shows us that they had power.
Yep.
Because you see the scene of judgment about to take place. You see the wind about to blow on the earth. You see destruction about to happen. And he says that on the extremities, the angels are holding the four winds.
Because if they don't, even from a scientific point, if the four winds and the covering that was created by them protecting its form, i.e. the ozone layer, this is from scientific, we would die. it would be destruction.
Yeah. Definitely.
So it's very interesting, and it all came from just understanding what firmament was. It's not just this vault. It's not this expanse. It's the Most High giving an experience to us.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've run out of time. It's 9:44. I thank you, Stanley. And I thank all our family who've been here with us. And we will see you next week.
Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to present. And yeah, if anybody has any other ideas. Oh, and yeah, I don't even have it up. I didn't
put the Discord in the link because I was supposed to be doing my side by putting that up.
So yeah, I put it in. But yeah, if anybody come up with any other thing to add to that, like I said, the original Word document I have was much smaller. And like I said, I went.
Can we have a chat session next week where we're not talking to you guys, but we are all sharing? Can we do that?
Yeah, that would be
talking to the family now. Stanley and I are always talking, but
right. I was like, it's
like Chris,
the community
Amore.
Yeah, you already know, and as long as you present it, yes, is in. So.
Yeah, if we have a chat session, I guess we could look at current events, signs of the time, what's next, what to expect.
And anybody, it's not anybody, anyone.
So that's not us presenting, no, it's anyone.
Right. It's anyone just saying, hey, let's just XYZ and let's just dig into this subject matter.
Even if you put it in the Discord in the week to say, let's look at this, if you want to request a topic, and we all just look at it.
So yeah, I would really like that myself, just get a refresher during the week.
Yeah. And remember, Wednesday nights, although I keep forgetting it, and I keep coming in way after the time, my hours are long. Sometimes my hours are 14 to 16 hours per day. Yeah, they're crazy. Long.
But thank you again, everybody. And like I said, if anybody has any other mentions, please feel free to put it in the Discord and we'll check it out.
Shalom.
Shalom. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom and blessing.